Okay, so you want to run an AI agency. It looks like the easiest business ever invented. No storefront, no inventory, no employees if you don't want them. Just a laptop, a few software subscriptions, and a pitch deck that says you can save a company 6 figures a year by automating what their staff does manually. The market backs you up. The AI agent space alone went from a few $billion in 2025 towards something like $11 billion in 2026. And the number of agencies chasing that money exploded from roughly 2,000 in 2024 to over 12,000 in 2026. Every business owner in America has heard the words AI transformation, and most of them have no idea how to get there. You do. So you open a Slack account, buy a domain, and start selling. It is not the passive income machine it looks like from the outside. Here's the real thesis, and I'll spend the rest of this earning it. You are not actually selling artificial intelligence. You're selling something that expires on a clock you don't control, set by companies bigger than you.
Here's the number that should stop you. 60% of the agencies that launched in 2025 have completed fewer than 5 client projects. Not 5 successful ones, 5, period. 6 out of every 10 people who did exactly what you're about to do are, right now, sitting on a laptop with a logo and almost nothing to show for it. The AI isn't the part that's hard. Getting anyone to pay you for it is. So let's build the business the way you'd actually have to build it. You don't need land. You don't need a storefront. That's the trap, because it makes this look free to start, and it isn't. You need a tool stack, workflow platforms, voice and chat agent builders, and the underlying model access itself, running somewhere between $200 and $1,500 a month before you've signed a single client. You need a portfolio, which usually means building 2 or 3 projects for free or at cost just to have something to show, because nobody hires an agency with 0 case studies. You need months of runway for the sales cycle, because closing a client on a 5-figure automation project rarely happens on the first call. It happens on the 5th, after you've built trust, addressed 12 objections, and probably given away a diagnostic audit for free. And you need a cushion for the part almost nobody plans for, covering model and infrastructure costs when a client's usage spikes beyond what you quoted, because running multiple clients' workloads through large language models creates a tangled cost structure that leads to surprise overruns agencies rarely see coming. Add it up: tooling, unpaid proof of work, months of sales runway, a cost buffer for bills you can't predict, and you've spent real money and real time before you built a single paid automation.
Here's the part that actually explains why some agencies survive and most don't. The build, the actual automation, the chatbot, the workflow is not where the money is. It's the cheapest part of the entire business. The technical build itself is roughly 10% of the total effort it takes to run this business profitably. Clients think they're paying for the AI. What they're actually paying for, if you do this right, is the ongoing retainer. The maintenance, monitoring, and optimization contract that keeps running long after the initial project is delivered. A one-time build might run anywhere from $500 to $25,000 depending on scope. That same client, kept on a monthly retainer for support and iteration, might pay you $1,500 to $20,000 every single month for years if you keep the relationship. And there's a second profit center almost nobody advertises on their website: training. Agencies that bundle a dedicated adoption and training package into every proposal, walkthroughs, documentation, on-site sessions, are charging clients an extra $15,000 to $20,000 just to teach the client's own staff how to use what was built for them.
A client who pays you $8,000 for the automation and then $20,000 to learn how to actually use it just handed you 2.5 times more profit on the teaching than on the technology. Now the part nobody tells you until it's already happened. Here's the trapdoor. Contracts in this industry are getting shorter, not longer. And that's not a coincidence. It's rational behavior from your clients. Buyers are explicitly refusing to sign beyond 1-year terms, not because they're unhappy, but because the underlying models improve every few months, and what's cutting edge today gets commoditized within 2 quarters. That means the exact workflow you spent 6 weeks building, the one you're charging a premium retainer to maintain, can often be rebuilt by a competitor or replicated inside a platform the client already pays for in a fraction of the time it took you originally. There's no lock-in. There's no long-term contract protecting your recurring revenue the way a franchise agreement or a lease protects a traditional business. If a client leaves, they can leave in 30 days, and the 18 months of retainer income you were mentally counting on simply doesn't happen. That's not a rare event. That's the standard risk sitting underneath every single agency in this space.
Picture the pattern, because it plays out the same way across hundreds of these launches. A founder starts solo, builds 3 projects for free to fill out a portfolio, and spends 4 months cold emailing and doing free audits before landing a first paying client. Slowly, over a year, they stack up 5 retainer clients at around $5,000 a month each. On paper, that's $25,000 a month in revenue and over $22,000 in profit because the overhead is just software and their own time. It looks, for a moment, like they cracked it. Then 2 of those 5 clients, the 2 paying the most, get pitched by a rival agency, undercutting the price by 40% using the same off-the-shelf tools. Or they simply discover their own CRM now has the same automation built in natively, no agency required. Revenue drops by half overnight. There's no severance, no notice period beyond the 30 days in the contract, and the founder is back to selling, except now with less runway and a lot more competition than when they started. This is not one unlucky founder.
It's the shape almost every agency in this space eventually runs into, because the entire model rests on a moat that doesn't actually exist yet. And that's the long-term problem hanging over the whole industry, not just the small operators. Gartner expects roughly 40% of enterprise applications to have task-specific AI agents built directly into them by the end of 2026, up from under 5% just a year earlier. Every one of those built-in features is a client who no longer needs to hire someone like you because the automation you'd sell them for $8,000 now ships free inside the software they already bought. On top of that, Gartner projects more than 40% of current enterprise AI agent projects will be canceled by 2027 over cost overruns, unclear value, and weak governance. Which means even the clients you do land are statistically likely to pull the plug before the relationship matures into real recurring revenue. The smartest operators in this space have already stopped selling "we'll build you a chatbot" and started selling outcomes tied directly to revenue or cost savings, with pricing structured around results instead of hours, precisely because the build itself stopped being defensible. So here's what you're actually deciding to run once you strip away the pitch deck. A thin, easily copied margin on the thing you're named for, the automation itself. A real profit engine sitting in the retainer and the training nobody notices on the invoice. And a structural risk that isn't a supplier going bankrupt or a landlord raising your rent. It's the entire foundation of what you sell getting rebuilt into the software your clients already own, on a timeline measured in months, not years. Some founders will read that as the reason to get in now, while the retainers are still fat and the platforms haven't caught up. Others will read it as the reason this whole model has an expiration date built into the business plan from day one. Which one you believe probably says more about your risk tolerance than it does about the technology. You decide.